Okay, in our reading of Iliad 1, we're up to roughly line 43, and in the previous section, Chryses has complained to Apollo about his treatment, and he's asked for revenge. And he says, "May the Danans pay for my tears by means of your missiles, your weapons, your missiles," probably is the best translation of that one. And he now says, "Hosephat eukominos," thus he spoke, praying, and, of course, Phoebus Apollo heard, was hearing, to him. So that's for two for our two. Verbs of hearing often take a genitive. So thus he spoke in prayer, and Phoebus Apollo heard him, and he, this is now Phoebus Apollo, omenos, from koomai, which is to be angry, and being angry in his care, well, in his spirit, it's an interesting word, care, on which much have been written, but just translated as spirit. So angered in his spirit, he went down, so he descended the peaks of Olympus. Ekon, participle here, having, omoisin, on his shoulders, his toxa. Well, it's probably plural for singular, it's toxa, bows, neuter plural, there's an alpha elided there. So we would just say bow. So having his bow on his shoulder, and his ferret train, which is his quiver, and it's ampherephia. Notice all the fire sounds here, ampherephia, tefaretain. This is connected back with this verb we saw up here, the erepsa verb, the erepo, to cover over something. And so this means something like covered at both ends, often translated closely covered. So it has to be covered at one end, presumably, or the arrows would fall out, but this one's got a special cover at both ends to make it special. So having his bow on his shoulders and his closely covered quiver. And we get this lovely verb here, eklanksan, probably from klango, undoubtedly onomatopoetic, and we're going to see the noun later on as well. So it's a very evocative word, and it's very strong here. That's the first word, eklanksan. So it has the sense, well, you could translate it by our English word, cognate with our word clang, I suppose. It means to rattle, so clang or rattle, and ara, fittingly, or often hard to translate, but the istoi are the arrows, and you might say, and in fact the arrows rattled ep omon, upon the shoulders, this is from omos, the shoulder, of him being angry. So the arrows of him in his anger rattled upon his shoulders. Little genitive absolute, autu kinethentos. Now this is from kineo, to move. Get words like kinetic and so on from this, but it's a passive, aorist passive genitive participle, because of the genitive absolute, but it's got an active meaning, and even though it's passive in form, it often has when you get these passive forms, they often can sometimes have some kind of reflexive meaning. So as he moved himself, others take the autu as his body, so as his body was moving forth. Hot de aie. Now the aie is it's the imperfect from Amy. This is Amy Ibo to go. This is the imperfect. It's a very difficult verb, this one. The forms of it are hard to learn. You just basically learn to recognise them, I think. But he went, he oikos, like nukti, like tonight. So we get this lovely metaphor here. Remember that this is this disease, this plague coming upon the army. It's like a miasma coming upon them, and so it's a beautiful metaphor here. He came like tonight, as though it was some dark, foreboding pall about to come upon the army. There are not that many metaphors in Book 1 of the Iliad, and this is one of them that we see here. Headset, this is from hedzamai, to sit, or hedzamai. He was sitting then away, apart from the ships. We get two different ideas here. So he was sitting apart from the ships, and the two verbs, one at the beginning and the other one's at the end. This again is tomesis, or this is a preverb if you like. This is meta plus he aiken. This again, this is from he Amy, and this is a perfect. It probably would have been something like sesaiken originally, because this verb probably began life something like this, sisami. Doesn't occur, but probably something like that, and we lose the two sigmas. This is also a difficult verb. And so the perfect probably would have been something like this, and then you can see if you lose both of your, that turns into a hard breathing, and this one disappears. You can see, sorry, this one disappeared. You can see how the form arises. He'aka, and goes with the meta. And he released his, so methiami here is to release or let go, his eos, his arrow. And eos, interesting word, it can also mean poison. And so I suppose in this context of the plague coming upon them, it's quite a nice word to choose here. So he released upon them his arrow, Dene de clange geneto, agoreo bioio. And there was a terrible rattle, and as I mentioned, this is cognate back with this clango verb here. It's onomatopoetic. And there was this terrible rattle from, so it's an ablative, really, genitive being used as an ablative here, from his silver, bios is bow. Can be used of a rainbow in Greek as well, but here it's just his bow, another word for bow. Men proton, and the balancing bit with that is going to be the epater on the next line. So at firstly, this is from ep oikomai. So epi plus oikomai, and yet another word for coming. And to come against somebody is to attack them. So he attacked at first the ureas, this is the mules. So firstly he attacked the mules and the dogs who are argus. This probably means white here. In later Greek you will see this word used in the sense of lazy, but from a different etymology. In later Greek it was thought to come from alpha privative plus the erg root, those who don't do any work, and hence lazy, but that's probably not the meaning in Homer. In Homer it seems to mean white. Why would they go after white dogs? Well, apparently it was believed that white dogs were less robust than black dogs, and so you go after the mules, who are weak animals, and you go after the white dogs because they're also weak and susceptible to the plague. Auta, very, very strong but epater, but afterwards, if hies is a participle, It's again, it's from hiemi. It's from this hiemi again, present participle. So releasing against. So releasing his belos, his missile, connected with bellow, his missile, which is ekipukes. This is this echo of holding, and this root here has this meaning of sharpness. So it's literally holding sharpness, and hence painful or biting. By the way, in terms of meter, this is a long O here to make the meter work. So, but afterwards, having sent forth his biting missile upon them, ballet looks present, but in fact this is really imperfect. It's really ebale, and it's imperfect in the sense that he began to strike them. That is, all of the others. Ie de purai nequian kion to themai, and continually a thick pyre nequion of corpses. This is from Kaio, we've seen before that verb, Kaio, this is the passive, were being burnt. And continually thick pyres of corpses excuse me, were being burnt. And that's the grim situation that we're left in at the end of line 52.